Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, and welcome to the Scribe Podcast. And this is a new series of interviews that we're doing here on the Scribe Podcast. Very exciting, and I'm very honored to have our first guest, Camille Mana. Thank you so much for coming on and joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I didn't know I was the first guest. Wow, fancy.
Yeah, we're branching out a little bit, so this is
Uh-huh.
exciting exclusive for Scribe Talks podcast. So tell our audience a little bit about where they might find you. What are some of your projects that you've been in?
Awesome. So I just was added to the cast of The Equalizer, which is on CBS. It's a spy show. It might sound familiar to all because it's existed in several forms over
Mhm.
the years. In the 80s, it was a long-running series, which apparently my father used to watch.
Well, there you go.
My brother just told me. And then I think Anton Fuqua made a movie with Denzel Washington, and now it is a series on CBS with Queen Latifah
Yeah,
as the Equalizer, and so that's lovely. I just got added as the sister of one of the other leads, which is really cool. And so there's a little spy drama. I'm really excited about a movie called Scrambled, which
Mhm.
is a comedy, a female-driven comedy by a filmmaker named Leah McKendrick, and Lionsgate will be releasing it. But it's premiering at South by Southwest in a few weeks, which is really exciting.
Mhm.
And I'm really pumped to be a part of that. Been kicking around, doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that for a while, and I'm sure we'll get more into that as we talk today.
Absolutely. We'll definitely be talking about both of them at least. And I can say I'm definitely aware of the Anton Fuqua films. I was a big fan. You're like Denzel Washington. How couldn't you be?
Yeah,
I definitely I didn't watch the original show, but I do remember them
probably a
referencing
little
it.
young for. I
Yeah,
think we're a little young for it.
my mom was much more of a Miami Vice and Magnum PI fan, so I watched those a lot when I was growing up. So, but now, Camille, what inspired you to get into acting?
Oh gosh, I was very much raised by the television as a child. A lot of that. I grew up in Orange County, and it's the suburbs, and I watched a lot of TV, and I think there was something about there's just something magical in that box, and back then it was a box still.
Yep.
I'm dating myself, and that was just like electricity, like coming out from stories where I would be like transformed
Mhm.
into a connection with
Mhm.
whoever was on screen, whether it was something dramatic or funny. Like there's just was something palpable about watching television. Or I remember seeing the first professional stage production I ever saw. My parents took me to see Phantom of the Opera, which is the dorkiest thing to mention, but I mean, it's also one of the, it's made gajillions of dollars, so I'm sure we've
Yes.
all seen it. And as a child, just like the wonder of the spectacle and the beauty of the music and the emotions and weird stuff too, like Freaks and Geeks really like affected me, and that was way before the wave of like weird comedy became
Mhm.
normalized in society, where like now our commercials are just weird, absurd moments of comedy, and that's it's the new zeitgeist. But yeah, there's just was something that made my ordinary suburban childhood life feel like this extraordinary world of possibility. And I think I just thought, oh my God, what is that? I want to be a part of that. And God, what a life choice. Don't do it, children. But no, that was yeah, that's what got me. It was just watching stories like movies and TV and even music, just the
Mhm.
power of human communication through stories and just how we're all kind of going through the same thing, even if we haven't lived that exact experience. We're all human, and that's the beauty of this. So,
Absolutely. And it's very inspiring. And I definitely understand what you mean. I always was watching TV, especially with my mom, had shows on every night. It's what we did
yeah,
at night. So, and
yeah.
being able to connect with those characters and stuff like that. And I can confirm, as I moved one recently, they did used to be shaped like boxes and they were heavy,
Yeah,
considerably heavier than they are now.
yeah, or just, screens. Like the fact that you and your mother sat in a room together and
Yes.
consumed the same story and had the same experience, which it's sad now, like we don't go to the movie theater, or most Americans don't go to the the theater.
Hmm.
But maybe in England we still are. But just that memory that you have with your mom, and now it's just, okay, I'm over here doing this and you're doing that, and
Hmm.
there's something a little sad about that transition, I think, too. But yeah.
Some of us are trying to keep it alive.
Yeah. Movie lovers keep buying those tickets. But
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. Now, you mentioned that you have joined the cast of The Equalizer, which obviously you mentioned like it's had quite a legacy at this point. And what's it feel like joining a show with such a kind of legacy and being a part of something like that?
Well, I'm grateful just to be brought on, and I'm playing a supporting, role as Lisa Lapira, who plays one of the leads in the show,
Mhm.
best friends with Queen Latifah's character, and crime fighting. They've added a family for her, so
Mhm.
it's kind of a big moment in that there's a Filipino American family on a CBS show on primetime, which is not something that I don't know, maybe existed at all, like even last year, but certainly not when I was a child. And that's really beautiful. But for something like this, where this show began on CBS, I think in the 80s, and had a white male lead. And then
Mhm.
the Anton Fuqua version has a black male lead. And then now the CBS reboot of it has a black female lead. And just that sort of trajectory is fascinating just to think about. And this is, a prime time big three network show. Back,
Yeah.
there used to only be those three networks, and now there's gajillions of platforms, if or and even the movie being a studio movie, right? I assume it was a studio movie, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just tracking storytelling through that, like, trajectory is fascinating. And the fact that, I think it's renewed already for a fourth season, and that's really cool. And that people, I think there's something about reboots now with people feeling like a familiarity or a nostalgia. But what's interesting is I think there's so much diversity now in television, which there wasn't maybe 5 years ago, 10, maybe started
Mhm.
about 15 years ago. Lost and Heroes, I feel like, is when diversity in TV started to be like, oh, are we doing this? Is this monetizable? Is this popular? Like Lost having subtitles,
Yep.
was like revolutionary. And now you have what was the Ron Howard movie, 13 Lives? He was talking at a Q&A. Just saw this Q&A with P.T. Anderson. I'm on a tangent. Interviewing Ron Howard, and it was about how, like, opening the movie with just in subtitles would never have happened 5 years ago, 15 years
Mhm.
ago. Now it's like we're used to it because of streaming. So I think it's really cool that storytelling, even if it's the same story, is
Yeah.
being reimagined. And the show, which again I'm just coming into, it's certainly not, my show that I'm carrying or anything like that. That is for the people we've just mentioned. But they've done a beautiful job, not just having diversity on screen, but giving a three-dimensional world
Mhm.
to those characters. And so, like, Queen Latifah's story she's got her work life and her, her crime fighting life, but then you have her family life. And I think that's not something that we had before. And so now that they've added in Mel, played by Lisa Lapira, her storyline, a Filipino family story, it's just really cool. I feel so fortunate to get to participate in that. Like, earlier this year, there was a movie that was about Joe Coy, the
Yep.
comedian, and they had made a pilot for a big network, and it didn't go to series, and that was going to be the first Filipino family story, and that didn't get picked up. And so this is really cool that this, in a larger storyline, has this thread, and I'm grateful, and I everybody was very kind, so I think it's cool.
Well, and that's pretty exciting, and especially because like you generally do see like getting a chance to like hop into a different background, different kind of family, and a lot of sitcoms and stuff like that. But seeing it in like this is a crime thriller, and this is like a prime time crime thriller.
Yeah.
Getting a chance to see that kind of different aspects, exciting. Like I remember because like the Equalizer premiered, I think after like the Super Bowl or something a couple years ago. Like that was a big launch for CBS, so it's exciting prospect to see something like that get a spotlight quite like that. And obviously, this idea, the stories keep being reimagined. And I saw, I'm like, well, that's interesting. It's taking a whole new take on it.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of legs and has the room to grow. So it's excited to check that out.
And another thing is just anyone who's been like seeing Queen Latifah. I remember growing up, like, she was making music,
Yeah.
and like, and to be like, oh my gosh, you're like the lead of like an action show that's going like renewed into its fourth season, even though it's still season three. Like
Mhm.
anyone who has had the staying power to be relevant and to be making things that people want to watch or listen to for 30 plus years, I just think there's so much this business is crazy.
Yep.
And to be able to reinvent oneself also, I mean, look at Will Smith, what he was doing in the 90s, and like just the evolution of entertainment and like what you can do to collaborate and to keep reinventing. I think there's something really inspiring about that. So just not just the series' evolution, but also just the lead performer's evolution too. That's really cool.
Absolutely. And I know you mentioned Scrambled earlier as well, and coming out at South by Southwest, which is coming up, which, festival season, always exciting with all kinds of new stories getting put out there. But what are you most excited about being part of this project?
Oh God, I'm giving myself a hug. I'm so okay. So I think there's only 8 films in narrative competition at South by Southwest, which is insane. I mean, 8 movies getting to participate, whatever the prize might be, or grand jury, or whatever. Uh, I had been to South by Southwest twice as like a when I was younger at once, just because I'm a huge music fan and like
Hmm.
just being like an indie rock kid growing up. I remember going one year with my friends who already had booked everything, and they had a color-coded spreadsheet of every like because there's slots and every band is
Hmm.
playing at the same time, and you run across, I don't know if you've been, you run across the street and and so I remember just seeing like hundreds of bands in this short time. And I remember having gone back, and Austin is amazing. I went back. I had a project that I produced that was in South by Southwest. And anyway, I'm excited to be in Austin for the festival. But um, I love Leah McKendrick's movie. Like I read
Hmm.
the script, and it's a comedy. It's a comedy about I think it's like a broke single millennial unleashes. Wow, you're gonna be proud, guys, that I have the tagline. A broke single millennial unleashes a shitstorm when she ends her relationship and freezes her eggs and ends up like so um to be completely candid, I had a very similar experience as the movie. And like so I was reading this, and um I read the first 2 pages, and I was like laughing my bum off, but then I was crying
Hmm.
by pretty, quickly into the second act. She's just so I was like, wow, I can't believe I get to do, a role in this movie. There's some great people in it. Leah McKendrick, who's the filmmaker who wrote, directed, and stars in it, is you will know this woman's name. I promise you guys, like in a few, you will know her name. She's already done some cool stuff. Like this is not her first um feature, but it's not an accident that it ended up, I think, being in one of the 8 films that's competing. And Lionsgate has picked it up, and it has really great producers who have made things that I love, like Warm Bodies and The Whackness, and
Hmm.
just really cool like indie team. And um, I think it's such like a weird stigma, like women's fertility, like egg freezing and all this like IVF stuff. It's such a topic that is still, I think, it's in the zeitgeist. And
Hmm.
if you're like in a major city like LA or New York, and if you're in the business, it certainly is a normal topic because it's something that a lot of people do. Because maybe people are like, I'm making my career happen now. We're not like
Hmm.
having children at 24 right out of college anymore, just as a society. And so I think it's really interesting that it's a comedy that is approaching a topic that is sort of like maybe there's still some discomfort around, or maybe a stigma for some, certainly certain pockets of, maybe religious groups or,
Hmm.
and I think it's really cool because I think comedy can be a really impactful and normalizing tool for us to be able to like learn and be curious about things that might be uncomfortable or maybe just something we've never been exposed to, and to be able to find our way in with laughter. But the thing about this movie is I think it really is going to make people cry too. There's a little bit of like bridesmaidsy stuff vibes, but I think it's got heart. But anyway, my character in that is very different from the Equalizer. This is not an action
Hmm.
kidnapping situation. I play a very inappropriate person who says the worst things that are very insensitive to this woman who's going through a lot. But the cast is incredible. There's Ego Nwodim from SNL. There's Andrew Santino from Dave. Clancy Brown, who's in everything. Yvonne Strahovski, who's an Emmy nominee from Handmaid's Tale. And just, I think it's a really good movie, and I'm excited to see it. I've heard it's
Yeah.
really good, but I think a lot of people, I think we're all going to enjoy it. Yeah, and Austin. Yeah, go Austin.
Well, it
Um,
sounds like there's a lot of exciting things about the film as well, and I'll definitely be looking forward to checking it out. I have a close relationship with Lionsgate, so I know I'll be
nice.
getting a chance to check it out when it, rolls around after the
Yeah,
festival circuit and stuff like that. And looking forward to checking out your performance in it. Sounds like there's plenty of laughs to be have had then. And you know
it
what?
is definitely a comedy.
Yeah, being able to laugh helps us process a lot of things. So I think that's
Yeah.
something special there. Now, we talked a lot about like what you have on your plate right now and looking to the future, but what do you feel like's that project that has been most significant to you so far as an artist in your work?
Ooh, I got to do something really cool that was one of Jesse Eisenberg's first writing projects. And at this point, he's done so much writing and does like McSweeney's, and he's directed and
Hmm.
I don't know, published multiple novels. He's out there doing a lot of stuff. I really respect him and have a great love in my heart for him. So yeah, he wrote this play that was about a Filipina immigrant woman who comes into the life of these two very erudite New Yorkers who think that they like know all about international
Hmm.
politics and culture. And here's this woman who is of the world coming into their world, and they think they know the world. And then obviously the subversion of that, we can see
Yeah.
where that's going in the hijinks. But there was a lot of darkness in there too. It's not just wasn't just a comedy, it was pretty dark. I think it was billed as a comedy, but I think it was a little bit more dark and intellectual. But that play was called Ascencion, and I played Ascencion. And so I literally at that time, I didn't come out of Juilliard or NYU, Tisch, whatever. I grew up in Orange County, and I'd been acting like started like watching TV and was like, I want to learn to act, and like riding my bike to read all the books about acting and driving myself to LA at
Hmm.
16 to take classes and get an agent. But yeah, I got plucked out of, I don't know. I was doing a sitcom at the time that I don't know how he got my tape. He said he's watched my tape and was like, "You're the person, come do it." And I was like, "Whoa." So actually, there is a story. We went to go do, I don't know, we talked about this. We went to go do a movie version of it
Hmm.
in upstate New York, which never got finished. And I don't know if this is, it was actually with Jeremy Strong and Jesse Eisenberg at the time. But we never, in the movie, it got shut down. I went home with my little suitcase of costumes, and then it came back. We did it as a play, which is how it was intended.
Yeah.
And it was with Justin Bartha and him. But that's really cool. Jeremy Strong has like done everything now. Is everyone's favorite villain. I don't know if he's a villain. I guess anti-hero. I
Um,
guess everyone
a
on
lot
Succession
of
is an
very
anti-hero.
dysfunctional people.
Yeah. I think everyone on cable is now a very highly dysfunctional person. But yeah, I got to go from LA to New York to do that play, and it was a very special experience. It seemed like every night, like every A-list person that had ever
Mhm.
been like in my manifestation journal of like people I want to like meet and work with, like they all like came, and it was lovely, and it was very I like all the reviews were very lovely, and I that was a really special time. I am grateful. God, I really it's funny because all these things are in New York that we're talking about, or a lot of them are, but I did get to do something um, which was, I think, kind of special. There was in talking about how primetime is now doing things that are a little bit different than how they've been done before. There was a spike in Asian American hate crimes during COVID,
Mhm.
right? And so a show on NBC, a doctor show called New Amsterdam, had a whole storyline about this an Asian hate crime, and I played the victim of a this hate crime, and it was literally on the same day. This is not like a moment of this is not a happy moment, but like on the day that that episode was airing, in which my character is in New York and assaulted literally a woman. This was a big story. Was like a Filipino woman was assaulted in Hell's Kitchen by Times Square. And it was, my brother was watching the show and was like, the lady's story is on the news at the same time the show was airing, and just how prescient, like, I mean, it was weird. We'd shot that, and a little like too like eerie, like
Mhm.
and so I just think. And I think even the Equalizer is doing an Asian American hate crime storyline this week. I think there's just so much that's changing and shifting, like
Mhm.
about what we talk about in stories, and I think just like talking about humor and letting that be a way that we're in to something like egg freezing and the
Yeah.
discomfort of that, right? That this character goes through. Also, I think dramatic stories can, also help us feel like seen and understand a new other perspectives.
Absolutely, and it sounds like you had quite the journey with that Eisenberg project, and it sounds like it's pretty exciting. And then mentioning about being part of something so very timely
Yeah.
could be uncomfortable, but have that much resonance when somebody's watching it. You watch it on TV in a show, and then you turn on the news, and it's there, and it's just like
Oof. Yeah.
the quite the experience. And kind of wrapping things up then,
Yeah.
Camille, thinking about you have these projects that are coming up, but what are your hopes specifically that you want to do with your career moving forward? What are some of your aspirations?
Oh gosh. I feel as anyone who does this lifestyle. It was funny. It's funny. I have a friend who says acting, directing, writing is not a career. It's a lifestyle. It's like you go into any coffee shop in Silver Lake and you'll know what anyone means by that. Everyone's on a laptop during regular business hours, just having business lunches. And if you can't see me because this is an audio podcast, there are air quotes, and just
Strong air
yeah,
quotes
and
there.
everyone's got their laptop out, and it's like final draft is open, and it's just like if you can live a life of joy where you are being creative and you're contributing often enough and collaborating with people who you admire and who are so much smarter than you feel you ever could be, which I feel fortunate to be, and I'm a smart lady, and to just feel like to be able to like keep doing this and to still love it,
Mhm.
um and that makes that original moment of like feeling seen as an audience member watching television, movies, stage, to be able to keep participating in that from the other side. I think that's the dream, and just to keep doing it. You guys just interviewed my mentor Raphael Sparge, and he
Mhm.
is was a teacher of mine, and he would say, oh my God. What did he say? I just thought like basically your teachers teach you, and you learn from your students too, I feel like I've been able to learn from mentoring and giving back
Mhm.
to other people too, and because I'm a teacher now too, so we all learn from each other, whether we're watching or performing or collaborating, and I think that that's the whole thing.
Well, hopefully that dream can keep going, and I'll definitely be pulling for you. And I definitely completely understand the what we get out of being a teacher. It's like I work at a college and work with a lot of
Yeah.
students and stuff like that. And it's like, trust me, you learn a lot from
Oh my
other people that
gosh.
you're trying to help learn
Yeah.
what they need to learn, and you'll probably learn things that you didn't expect.
And you remind
Which,
yourself what you already know.
yes, it's
Yeah.
very exciting. But Camille, thank you so much for taking the
Yeah.
time to chat with me and coming on the Scribe Talks.
Thank you, Shane. Great.
And hopefully, all of you listening or watching potentially will be checking out Scrambled when it comes out, hopefully into theaters, and then hopefully you'll be tuning in, watching The Equalizer on CBS. But thank you again, Camille.
Thank you, Shane.
And thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting the Scribe podcast.